Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
It is the Lock Shop time here on Edmonton Sports Talk. We're going to actually keep it tight today because I do believe there's a big Edmonton Oilers press conference that will be coming to you live here on EST. Andrew Paterson of the WST gang with you live from the NHL draft in Las Vegas. Dusty on the way to do his CFL work. But I'm fired up to have Matthew Iwanyk in today because we got some 3-down football and some international football to talk about as well. Matty, what's going on? How are you?
I'm doing great. It's a little wild that Jeff Jackson's going to be speaking to the media as Ken Holland. He won't be returning to the Oilers, but it's the start of week 4 in the Canadian Football League. We're only a couple days away from Canada and Chile at Copa America, looking to advance to the next round. Things are good. Huss. And you're out in Vegas.
I'm out in Vegas finally. I was hoping to join the guys yesterday for the golf show, but I won't bore you with the details. Long story short, I got to the Winnipeg airport around 2 p.m. on Tuesday. We did our show early so we could get on our 4:15 flight to Denver. We got delayed 3 times, and then we got canceled around 10. Then we had to spend 2 hours in a line getting rebooked, and then do it all over again the next day. So we are
the
here.
The joys of travel.
We will be live. We will be live at the top of the next hour, 1 o'clock Winnipeg time, breaking down everything coming from the draft. You see the brains of the operation, Michael Remus, running around here, getting everything done and ready to go. But it's the one good thing about the travel snafus was that during our delay, I got a chance to watch Canada win their first Copa match. I was planning, we thought we'd literally be taking off as the game was starting and I would miss the entire thing. So that was fun with a bunch of other Canadian fans watching the game in the Winnipeg airport, but it's all business. Hey, listen, just before we get to CFL, got to ask you, I figured I would just let things settle for a few days since Monday. How's everyone in Edmonton? How are the guys? I mean, what an incredible playoff run. And the comeback to get to game 7, the hopes were so high and just came so damn close, but not getting it done. Where's everybody at right now?
Yeah, I think it's still wake mode here in the city. The weather has helped create that as well. As Tuesday, the day after Game 7, it was rainy and gloomy around here, so it just matched everyone's mood. We kind of have that a little bit going right now here too, weather-wise. But I think everyone's just slowly going through their stages of grief, and they're coming past the disappointment, and maybe now slowly over the next couple days, we'll start transitioning towards, well, let's just do it again next year. Let's just see this team get back there next year and see what happens. But, I think the last couple of days, this one got the city pretty good. It brought them down a bit. And, they're still just trying to come to terms with the disappointment from Monday. But also very excited and very happy for the journey that they were able to watch of the Edmonton Oilers.
Oh, listen, it was incredible. You guys were the envy of the entire country and really the hockey world, too. I mean, because Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final is... you don't have many of those during your lifetime, which makes it that much more hard to handle, knowing how close the team came. It wasn't able to win, but man, it was an incredible run. And I have a feeling that we're going to be dealing with the Edmonton Oilers for those of us in the group for the next little while. But anyways, Oiler fans, stay tuned. Jeff Jackson coming up, and we'll cut out of the Lock Shop a little bit early. Got to give a huge shout out to our friends and partners at Coolbet for making the Lock Shop happen each and every day. If we're going to get into these CFL lines, let you know about that 20% multiplier, the win bonus that you can use each and every week in the Canadian Football League, only at Coolbet. So if you haven't played there before, and you want to give it a shot, head on over to coolbet.com. Use the promo code LOCKSHOP for a 100% bonus up to $200 on your first deposit. Maddie, you know what could maybe help some of the heartbroken Oiler fans? The Elks to get it together and get in the win column. And they, of course, have a very tough matchup to kick off the week. Against the Lions, who I can tell you look pretty darn good, especially offensively. And when I look at this game, and maybe what I'll get you to do is just run through the current lines right now over at Coolbet. I don't know what the total is on this game, but I can tell you that the Elks offenses look great. I can tell you that BC absolutely shredded a decimated Bomber defense last week, and this should be a fun one for the fans watching on TSN. Because I would imagine that we're going to see a lot of points.
53 is the point total over under. Dead on 53.0. As for the spread, the Lions are 7.5 points favorites going into this one. Look, the Elks, they're a better team this year than they were last year. They've been in every single game. The three teams that they've lost to are combined 7-0 this season. And they've been in those games right up until the very end against Saskatchewan, Toronto, and Montreal. And someone like myself, I would have envisioned that if they were going to start 0-3, I thought that was likely, but there would have been a couple blowouts in there, or there were a couple moments in there where they didn't have a shot. So they've been able to challenge some of the top teams really well. And now here comes another very difficult opponent, the BC Lions, who, the question is, Vernon Adams this week, there was the question of whether he's going to play or not. And, game time is 50-50. And, what is going on with Vernon Adams, I think, comes up a little bit with this. What doesn't help the Elks, and I know McLeod Bethel-Thompson made comments on this week, he's not happy with the Canadian Football League, probably will get a fine because in the CFL, you can't criticize the CFL. He doesn't like that the Elks are on a short week, and they played Saturday out in Toronto, and then they're having to play Thursday in BC, and that's where McLeod Bethel-Thompson has his concerns, is that from player safety perspective, it's a short week, and they're forced to travel across 3 different time zones. Not playing in Edmonton in one of those. It's Toronto, then have to go to BC. So, that's just something else the Edmonton Elks are going to have to deal with tonight. They desperately need to get their run game going, though. If they're going to want to win any of these football games, they need to start opening up some holes and getting Kevin Brown involved a lot more. I think last week it was like 10 carries between him and Javon Leake running back wise. This is going to be tough. I agree with where the line is. I think at some point, the Elks are going to run out a little bit of their luck when it comes to these close games. But maybe they are a better hockey football team than I'm giving them credit for. Tonight's going to be that big test for me, at least. If they could keep this one close, then maybe the Edmonton Elks aren't that bad of a football team, and they're just unlucky to start the season.
What are the Elks on the money line?
Plus 285.
Plus 285.
Plus 285. Lions minus 370.
You do mention that travel for the Elks from the Saturday game to Thursday. This is a big, really tough spot for them, and it's making me less confident in my pick. But I have been riding with the Elks, and I always say good teams win, great teams cover, and they have been great against the spread so far this year. And I'm sort of like you. I am waiting for this team to sort of be able to finish the job. I mean, they had the blown lead in week 1. They have been right there, and they did, get the backdoor cover in the last couple of weeks, but certainly 2 weeks ago. And then it was a shootout that I thought they really, especially offensively, acquitted themselves well against a really good Toronto team. But I'm going to take them tonight. I'm a little less confident realizing that this is a very tough spot for Edmonton. But the other side of it to me says this is a desperate team that has to be playing with a real sense of urgency. And, I think BC expects to win this game and will go in there maybe not as focused as they were last week against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So give me the Elks plus 7.5, Maddie, to kick things off. And if they can do that, that would be great. And listen, if they can pull off a massive upset, how huge would that be? How much fun would you be having on your post-game show tonight? If they could actually pull off a W and shock everybody.
I'll have a great time because I'm not expecting it at all. I'm completely on the opposite side. I'm taking the Lions to even cover. I've seen this Elks team. I don't know what it's like as a Bombers fan going to watch games in BC. Just historically over the years, getting that late game out in BC, there's always some weirdness that also happens that's always somehow magically works in favor of the BC Lions. So, to me, this is a very important game though for Chris Jones because they have a bye week next week. If you get absolutely obliterated in this one, if this is a blowout like we've seen last year, we've seen enough sports to know that's the time that you make a coaching change. But they need to at least keep it tight because afterwards it's Ottawa, Hamilton, Saskatchewan. There's a path back to 500 here, even if they lose tonight. But I like Vernon Adams. I like this BC Lions team, and I'm taking the Lions against -7.5 still.
I can't blame you. I've been riding with Edmonton, and they've helped me so far. We're on the right side of 500 after the 1-3 start for the season, so we'll take it. Let's get to these other games sort of quickly. Game of the week.
Yes.
Toronto, Montreal. Was it 3.5? Is it 3 right now?
It's right now sitting at -3. Als -3. Over under 51.5. The Als on the money line -179. The Argos +145. That game's tomorrow, 5:30 Edmonton, 6:30 Winnipeg time.
I'm taking the Argos in this.
Really?
Yeah, I am. Listen, I've been incredibly impressed with the Argos, and I know that they gave up a lot of points to the Elks last week, but I think the Elks offense is really good. Cameron Dukes is making people forget about the knucklehead that was the MOP last year and is doing what he has to do to get potentially reinstated to the Canadian Football League. He can run, incredibly efficient. I think he was 18-21. I mean, they're not forcing him to put it all on his arm. They're very well rounded, and they owned Montreal last year as well. I know Montreal's walking around, and they look like a different team since winning the Grey Cup. I don't think there's any question about it. Cody Fajardo has been phenomenal so far this season. But listen, you're going to give me points at home for an undefeated team against a team that they had a lot of success with. I'm going to take it. So give me Toronto +3 in this one.
Yeah, the Owls are just such a good football team. And if there's one thing I would say, that Montreal defense is really, really good. And the Elks defense, what we've seen so far this year, at least through 2 of the games, very suspect. They struggle by shooting themselves in the foot. There was a lot of opportunities they could have stopped the Toronto Argonauts last week, but they took a dumb penalty at a certain moment or a major breakdown. And I don't think that's coming from the Montreal Alouettes defense. I don't think that you're going to see those stubbing their foot against the wall or anything like that from that Owls defense. And you nailed it. This team, ever since that Grey Cup run last year through those 3 playoff games and the start of this season, they feel different. I wouldn't have had any real confidence in the Montreal Alouettes offense going into the playoffs last year. But since then, Cody Fajardo has really just established himself as a top quarterback. And Tyson Philpott, what a threat for the Owls. There's been a beautiful connection between those two that has been established since late last season. And as long as that's going to be there, Reggie White Jr. last week hit a couple touchdowns. They've been able to deal with the loss of no Austin Mack. Tyler Snead is hurt, but they still are able to just move that football and put up points. So, I've been impressed with Cameron Dukes. I've been impressed with he's 3-1 in his 4 starts with the Toronto Argonauts in his career. He looked really good in Winnipeg last year in that game when Chad Kelly didn't play. He's very impressive, but I really like the Owls, and it's a tight line, but I'll probably take the Owls to cover that one still too.
Winnipeg, Calgary, what's the latest number on that?
Winnipeg -3. Over under 47.5. Money line -182 for the Bombers. Stamps +178. Okay, admittedly, I haven't been able to watch closely Winnipeg too much this season. There's been a lot going on. What's going on, dude?
Well, I'll tell you what. They didn't look particularly prepared right out of the gate. And since then, they have been absolutely decimated by injuries. I mean, Winnipeg, I cannot believe this number is at 3 and seemingly staying at 3 right now. The Bombers are going to be without. Brady Oliveira will be back, which is good. But they're without Kenny Lawler. They're without Dalton Schoen. They're without Carrick Wheatfall. It is basically going to be Nick Dembski, Drew Olatarski, and a bunch of guys that we are not familiar with at all and that have not had any significant playing experience in the CFL. And on defense, Dietrich Nichols is going to be back. That will be huge. That will be huge because they had absolutely no answer for the BC offense last week when he was out. But you're playing a lot of young players in the secondary, and the defensive line is, I mean, you were already down a Jackson Jeffcoat coming in. A couple really key injuries in game 2 of the season. So to me, the Bombers probably shouldn't even be favored in this game. I mean, I could live with a pick 'em or maybe 1 point. 3 to me seems way too much. Now,
but do you have faith in Jake Mayer and the Calgary Stampeders?
Well, no, but again, we're talking about playing a unit that, I mean, this is just made to get a team's offense right. I had originally taken Calgary +3. We were making our picks, and when I sent them into you, when we were going with the 2.5 number, I actually sent in and said, okay, I'll go with the Bombers. Zach Collaros needs to step up and get it done. But I could not be less confident in that pick. To be honest, this would be a stay away game for me. If anything, what's the total in this game?
47.5. The lowest of the week. It's 53, 51.5, 51.5, but 47.5 for this one. They are not expecting offense at Coolbet.
Well, for this game, I mean, listen, if the Bombers are going to win, it's going to have to be over because I have a hard time imagining they're going to be able to keep that Calgary offense to a minimum so far. So,
but maybe this is that Brady game.
Well, you know what? It
receiving and rushing
right off the bat. I mean, the issue that the Bombers had in week 1 against the Canadian Football League was the interior of their offensive line. It's been a little bit better, I guess, over the last couple games. Zach has had a little bit more, and certainly his efficiency on second down against BC was a whole lot better. But you're losing your other 2 top receivers right now going into this game. This is the DraftKings lineups are going to have a bunch of wait a second, who's that guy on them? But it should be a really interesting one. Bombers cannot fall to 0-4, but it is very much on the table with this one. Now, final game, Hamilton and Ottawa. And like the Ticats, we were talking on CFL 110 with Jeff Hamilton, and he was really critical of Scott Milanovich and, Bo Levi Mitchell. I'm not right there with Hamilton. I think that their receivers have absolutely killed him this week. Tim White, the guy that led the league in receiving last year, 0 catches on 6 targets last week, a ton of drops in week 1, part of the reason why they lost to the Calgary, and then the infamous volleyball set of that catch to the Saskatchewan Roughrider that turned that game around but Hamilton had the ball last minute of the game, tie game, after giving up a 10-point lead, but they had the ball, turn it over to Saskatchewan, and you just turn a win into a loss like that. So I think this is the time for Hamilton to get their win. Going into Ottawa, Ottawa just gave up, a 47, I think, to Montreal last week. I know they beat Winnipeg. That was a game where Winnipeg just simply wasn't very good, and the Bombers have a long, long ways to go. This is the week I'm taking Hamilton. Is it a pick 'em right now? Or,
yeah, it's 1 point. The Red Blacks favored by the -1. -122 on the money line. Ticats +100 at 51.5 for the
nice.
over/under.
I'll be taking Hamilton even money on the money line, but give me the point. Any thought on that one?
Yeah, no, I like Drew Brown. I like what I've seen so far through him. I can't buy into the Hamilton Tiger Cats. I'm still not sold on Bo Levi Mitchell. The fact that this is a pick'em and it's just 1 point and stuff, I am taking I'll look at the home team right there when it comes to the Ottawa Red Blacks. I just feel like the Ticats are going to be somewhat similar to the Elks right now, and they just will find a way to lose. They don't find a way to win. They find a way to lose. They find a way to take the L, and basically in this then with that any loss, like I just probably take the Red Blacks on the money line at -122 and stay away from the point there, just so you don't get messed over in that one little way, just because it's being that pick'em. But and then like Ticats +100 there for you looking at it that way. I'll look at that home team partly because like I am one of those guys that looks at things and I don't know. I already have 2 away teams winning, and it's just hard for me to see 3 away teams pulling it off this weekend.
Well, underdogs went 4-0 in week 1, and I think 3-1 in week 7. If you'd just taken the dogs so far this year, you'd be in.
Well, but that's partly because of the Bombers.
Absolutely.
Right?
Well, I've been. I hate to say it, but I think I'm 3-0 in the Bombers this year. It's the other picks that I've. I mean, just the lines have been so big, and it hasn't made sense. I mean, they were like 7.5 or 8 at home against Montreal. They were 8-point road favorites against the Red Blacks, and they were favored again last week against BC, and we know how that worked out. So. Yeah, it has not been 0-3 against the spread for the Bombers, and most importantly, 0-3 against the number. Keep an eye on the exclusives. Probably throw something up for tomorrow's games, but in the meantime,
we do have one for tonight. I threw one up for tonight.
Oh,
MBT 275 passing yards, Dylan Mitchell 70+ receiving yards, over 52.5 points, and the Elks to cover plus 475.
Yeah, well, actually, that is absolutely pick for tonight. It's the over. It is the over because we can, go back and forth with the Elks and keep it close. Whether they'll be in that game, BC's going to score, and I think Edmonton will too.
They've shown that this year. They can score. They could go out and put up points.
And Chris Jones, the defensive genius, needs to figure it the bleep out because we know where things are at. All right, we got about 5 minutes before we go, Maddie. Canada, Chile. Just quickly give your thoughts. Chile is the favorite. We
Which
need
I'm
a draw,
stunned
right?
by. I'm stunned that Chile is such a favorite in this one. A draw only if Argentina wins or they draw with Peru. If Peru defeats Argentina and Canada draws with Chile, Peru moves on. Because Copa America tiebreaker starts with goal differential, not head-to-head. So even though Canada will have beaten Peru and they could be equal on points, Peru moves on because of goal differential. Like, it's just... That makes no sense. The Euros do it opposite. It starts with head-to-head, then it goes to goal differential. But now, so a draw looks good. Argentina, they're probably going to play a little bit of a B team because they are through. So I think they'll rest some players, but they should be better than Peru, that they shouldn't even lose to Peru. But to make sure that you don't have to deal with anything, the win is what's going to be very crucial. Canada needs to play better than they did against Peru. What really turned that match around was getting the red card, and then they looked really good. They looked a little disjointed during that match, and if
the first half weren't particularly good at all.
And if the heat is a factor, it's not going to be any better on Saturday when they take on Orlando. But like what we saw against Argentina, I just want to see that again. If you play that way that you did against Argentina, there's going to be a really good shot to beat Chile. Chile, they're pretty strong defensively. I don't think there's a lot of great offensive scoring chances for Chile, so they shouldn't have to worry too much about, allowing Chile to score some goals. So, if Canada could get 1 or 2 goals, it should be good enough for minimum the draw, definitely with 2 goals, a win. And if you win, you move on and you're taking on either Venezuela or Mexico or Ecuador. I can't remember exactly how it's going to play out on the other side. I think it's likely going to be Venezuela, which they would have a shot against as well. So I'll be intrigued by the starting lineup. Schaffelberg has been fantastic coming off the bench. I would like to maybe keep it that way because his speed that he comes on is a nice addition for that second half. And I think Chile
the guy that made the pass to Jonathan David?
Yes.
Oh, that was perfect.
And he had a lot of, once he came on against Argentina in the second half, there was a lot of great chances right off the bat. So, Canada is good enough to go beat Chile. Seeing them as the outright underdog, worse than even the draw, I actually really like that at plus 285 because I don't think Canada's going in looking for a draw. I think they're going in for the win because that guarantees them the ticket out of the group stage.
Interesting. I did look ahead and I did bet a draw before I was wheels up. Thinking
nothing wrong with that.
Listen, I would take a draw and an Argentina winner draw, and then Canada moves on and we're fun. That Schaffelberg, where is he? MLS guy?
Yes, Nashville. They call him the Canadian Messi. They do.
Gotta love it. You gotta love it. I'll have to check out a little Nashville SC sometime when it's on the tube going forward. Just quickly before we go, I know we got about a quick minute. I mean, what a setup of matchups in the round of 16 in the Euro, huh?
Oh, and it's all like it's loaded on the one side. Germany, Spain, France, Portugal, Denmark, I can't remember who I'm missing, all on that one side. And on the other side, like we're going to have like Austria come through in the end to get to the Euro final because England looks like garbage right now with Southgate, and my Italians look like trash too a little bit. So it's all loaded up on one side. But like if things go the way people expect going into the second round of it, you're going to have like Italy, England, I think is it Spain, Germany, France, Portugal? Like it is going to be dynamic and just loaded with some unbelievable matchups. So the Euros, it's been great. It's going to be a lot more fun though as we move into these knockouts.
I had a few props, but I had France to win, and I was not too pleased with how the round of 16 ended up. And I did notice that the Dutch finished third in their group, did advance, and their odds to win the whole thing went down because of the neighborhood that they're in. It worked out quite well for them. Odds are up for Euro and all the round of 16 matches, as well as the Copa right now over at Coolbet Canada. Maddie, I guess you guys have some big Oilers stuff to do, so we'll get out a little early. Yes. I will tell you tomorrow, Jake and I, we'll touch on some more football, the weekend in soccer, and the NHL draft. There's tons of NHL draft props up right now at Coolbet if you want to get ready for tomorrow's draft. But I'll turn it over to you to set up for the big presser with the new boss of the Oilers. And thanks as always for jumping in.
It's always great chatting with you. I'm sure we'll do it quite a bit throughout the season with Dusty gone. Enjoy the draft tomorrow, Huss. Yes, we're coming up here on EST. We're going to catch up with, you can go to the one shot there, Zach, so that Huss could go and get ready. When we come back, we'll have two guys in a goalie. We'll get to the Jeff Jackson press conference. It hasn't started yet. We'll bring it to you momentarily here on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Quickly, $100,000 hole-in-one qualifying opportunity presented by Golftown, taking place next Wednesday. Got to get this out there. Stricker. Text that in right now, 780-218-9999. Golftown, check them out, golftown.com, or in-store for all the deals you need for golf. We'll be back in a few minutes with the Jeff Jackson press conference with two guys and a goalie right here on Edmonton Sports Talk.